Hey everyone, my name is Danyeli Rodriguez Del Orbe. I am Dominicana, raised in the Bronx, New York. I am a spoken word artist and poet who writes about the nuances of being Black, Dominican, undocumented, now formerly undocumented, gender, race, and all the things that make me who I am. And tonight I'll be the host for the annual Students' Work Reading for Dreaming Out Loud, co-represented by Nuyorican Poets Cafe. Today we are broadcasting on Crowdcast and want you to be part of the conversation. So if you have anything to say, anything to add, any questions to ask, please feel free to type it in the chat and one of our staff members will get to you and share some information about the participants that you see on the screen. So let's get started, right? What we came here for. I'm excited to turn it over to the first round of students from Dreaming Out Loud, and they will be reading and sharing some of their work.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria Jose. The title of my piece is One Park Avenue. I remember taking free swimming lessons at the YMCA when I was a kid. Jumping into the pool meant sharing the same water as the other sweaty students who didn't bother the instructor to use the bathroom. Instead, they swam in it. Diving into the pool meant doing a somersault and breaking the barrier of the water with my hands, to be surrounded by the ripples and bubbles my mouth would make. As I parted the water, I entered into a world where the light would shine through this liquid glass, and from a distance, neon swimsuits would be worn on top of rosy, peachy, and almond flesh tones. Colors on top of colors without a shape or form would swim past me, creating a ripple effect. Summertime weekends were the days to enjoy an open fire hydrant, thanks to the handyman from down the street. The neighborhood kids wearing jelly sandals and oversized t-shirts would search for pocket change in hopes to haul down Mr. Softy and devour a vanilla cone with sprinkles. On hot summer days, we would go to the library downtown to cool off with a free screening of E.T. and popcorn. Summer nights were even better when my parents would take in-person English lessons there, instead of popping a VHS tape labeled Inglés sin Barreras. There was a stuffed puppy laying on top of the TV box that never got a name when we watched Sábado Gigante in the living room area. Don Francisco would walk onto the stage looking all suave, and my favorite part would be seeing El Chacal, a masked character playing the trumpet off key. My mother and sister would shush the whole house, shifting throughout the channels to hear the Pope's horoscopes, Walter Mercado, who would don capes disguised in the night sky and blessing home audiences with mucho, mucho amor. The rest of the nights were spent watching an hour of El Chavo del Ocho on the couch, lined with a clear plastic tarp that was forbidden to take off. It would be adjacent to the one matching on top of the kitchen table. The ringing of the smoke detector meant lunch was ready. A burnt tortilla would fill the kitchen atmosphere. The table would be set up with mismatched plates full of rice, beans, and cheese that were picked up from our church's kitchen pantry. The kitchen was shared with the living room area that would house my two other older brothers and uncle at night. Somehow, my uncle would sleep closer and closer to the fridge to make it more accessible for a midnight snack. I took the bottom bunk bed that shared the same room as my parents. We lived in an immigrant penthouse suite that overlooked the rest of the fifth-floor walk-up brick buildings. The bodega cat would escape at night to walk over the ledge and scramble with the rest of the neighborhood cats. And at a distance, a pair of knotted Chuck Taylors would hang from the cable wires, the signature star logo swinging back and forth to be reunited once more with the moon. Thank you, everyone.
Hi everyone, my name is Erika Pupalo, and today I'm going to be reading 3 poems. The first one is called Forgive Me. You return on Wednesday. With a heavy bag from home, the travel takes 8 hours. I am restless. I remember you with me. You probably helped me when I first fell off that tree. I might have drowned on that river had you not jumped after me. I waved to the airplane goodbye. You said, come back. There were years when there was lightning within me. All the sounds were waking fireworks, too loud. I want to tell you that your prayers for me at night live with me every day. Yet I wonder, and I want to ask for your forgiveness, for is it that I forgot you? Night butterfly. One night, the butterfly fell from her altar onto the arm of a man, the man who loved someone who had died. And the butterfly only could absorb the hurt of the man with the throat hoarse from crying. Like this, both stayed together. And the last poem I'm reading is called The Turtles. I saw turtles on Saturday, huddled under the bright, shining sun. I sat on your car that afternoon, held by your sweetened lips from the donuts. I slept with music on my ears. Tomorrow, I hope to see you again. Thank you.
Simple Meaning by Dreamer. The presence is all. Everything always pass. Now it's what remains. What is important, always. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Teacher Han. I'll be reading the poem Namaz. Before I begin, I'd like to share that namaz is the Persian word for prayer. This poem will also refer to 2 of the 5 prayers that some Muslims pray throughout the day during distinct times. Fajr refers to the dawn prayer, and Asr refers to the afternoon prayer. Thank you for listening. The thick golden slumber of sorrow seeps into the delicate folds of her eyes, settling into a tattered heart of indigo blue. As the dark night's wind caresses her freckled face, she is tucked into old shari-turned quilts. Morning waits patiently for her to pray Fajr. With inaudible counting and swaying, her eyes quiver. She prays for those who are rising from Asr, whose sun dips into the waters to greet their sister.
Tener o no tener by Suleima Cuellar. Cállate, déjame escuchar las noticias, Dulce, shouts Ernesto across from the love-seat sofa. Dulce looks at her dad confused. Every afternoon, Ernesto and his family sit in the living room to watch the news on their 30-inch TV, which sits on an old rusty table stand. The news reporter says, the novel corona outbreak, which began in Wuhan, China, has extended to touch every corner of the globe. Millions of people around the world have been sick, and hundreds of thousands of others have died. Governor Cuomo has decided to extend the stay-at-home order. ¿Qué dijo, mija? What did she say? Ernesto said with a nod. Ernesto says with a knot in his throat. Que la ciudad va a extender la regla de estar en la casa. Dulce shouts from across the sofa. No digas eso. Necesito tener mis horas de nuevo. No escuchaste bien, mija. You didn't hear well, Ernesto cries out as he looks around his tiny 2-bedroom apartment. He found the apartment when he arrived in New York City 20 years ago. He found a job in the pizzeria across the street from his apartment, and he met his wife, Claudia, there too. They have a daughter, Dulce, who is only 8 years old, and Miguel, who is 13. When Claudia was pregnant with Miguel, she decided to paint the apartment. She chose a light blue for the living room walls, which matched the love sofa they found on the street. The kitchen was painted turquoise blue, and they saved up for months to buy a new fridge. Ernesto also painted and polished their dining table and added cushions to the 4 chairs. Claudia was thrilled to welcome their son, and painting the apartment made it feel like it was new. Ernesto had left Mexico because the poverty where he lived was horrible. There were days he had nothing to eat. The phone rang. Ernesto looked surprised to see his boss calling. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Ernesto. You're one of my best employees, but unfortunately, I need to let you go. But, sir, I need to work. The city is not opening anytime soon, and business has been slow. I cannot give you a job anymore. Sir, I need work. I understand, Ernesto. I cannot do anything right now. Before Ernesto could respond, his boss hangs up. Ernesto frowned and rubbed his forehead. No puede ser. It can't be. Ernesto frowns and stares at his phone. The 4th application he submitted for a delivery has been turned down because he does not have any social security number. ¿Estás bien, mi amor? Are you okay, my love? Asked Claudia. ¿Qué vamos a hacer? What are we going to do? Responds Ernesto. Our bills are stacking up. We will not be able to pay this month's rent, Ernesto says, looking down at his wallet and recounting his money. But honey, I don't know if the owner will understand. This is the 4th month, says Claudia. Papi, are you okay? Asks Dulce with a concerned voice. Yes, mija. Daddy just needs to go to work, replies Ernesto. Ernesto heads for the door. Before he closes it, he looks back at his family. With tears in his eyes, he whispers, I need to find a job. I need to help my family. My kids cannot go through what I went through growing up. Thank you.
Welcome back. Today I will also share a few poems for you. And the first one that I want to share is the first poem I ever performed, the first spoken word piece, and the first time that I ever performed out loud. And it was actually a Nuyorican Poets Cafe in 2017. And this poem, I wrote it about my mom, and we were in the middle of a fight. And this poem began as an apology letter to her that I was going to leave her like right before going to work. But I never had like the courage to do it. And instead, a few months later, when Trump took office, right, it became my first spoken word piece. After I found my mom preparing for the Trump administration by making a list of all the things that she would need to send to the DR if ICE came knocking on the door. So I wrote this poem to highlight the stories of our parents, who so many times I get the short end of the stick in policy and in mainstream media and the narratives that we see on TV. Because, you know, all you see is like the uplifting of dreamers and young people and undocumented youth, right? But many times we tend to demonize, or the media turns to demonize our parents for bringing us here, when really we are the result of so much sacrifice. So I wrote this poem, and it's called A Poem of Resistance for Mommy. And it goes like this. I hope you like it. My mother raised me fearless. She taught me how to peel plátano without trembling, how to let the blade do its job without shaking. When American Kiss twisted my name, softened it, broke its sound, she made sure I knew how to correct it. Danyeli, the real way, the Spanish way, the Dominican way. And when Spanish-speaking teachers drowned me in their spit, my mother scolded me from across the room. And that's how I learned how to swim. My mother raised a swimmer and a sprinter, told me to never stay in places not meant for me, told me to never linger in dark rooms where men holding machetes under their palms. My mother did not speak to me about sex. She spoke to me about fucking. She knew that to survive in our block, she had to punch the wise right into me, make a young woman out of a child and a cub into a panther way before the boys could. But often I was stubborn. I had too much of her in my hips, too much of her in my lips. I had to learn my lesson when I laid in the concrete, crying after a boy who did not treasure me. I had to learn my lesson when I couldn't go home and face her. I am 26 now. And I'm realizing that aunque me cueste, my mother is sometimes and usually and always freaking right. But don't tell her I said that. Because my mother is a strong woman, and she does not soften up to love letters or flowers, and there's too much anger and too much pride for me to tell her all the things that I wish that I could. But if my mother understood this language that breaks her every day, this right here is what I would say. Mommy, I know I'm a malcriada. And my temper is 3 hurricanes in one, and the boy child truths are always bad, and I know that I barely see you because I work so much, and I'm out in the street teaching people know your rights, but you're home rezando that I come home at night. And I know you beg me not to shout at cops or open my big ass mouth, but who else would do this for you, ma? You came here when I was 7, brought me here a year later, worked 3 jobs and paid for college, and they stabbed you in the back, gave me DACA, and then asked you to pack your bags. So, mommy, I'm not ready. Put down the damn backpack and the passport and the boarding pass, because as long as I can talk and move and breathe, I will riot and I will fight, and I won't let them touch you, mommy. Not now, not ever, and not tonight. You let this country break your back and gave your life to raise me right. You cannot and we must not give up now. Okay, so thank you for listening, and now we will return to the students who will be reading their work for Dreaming Out Loud. Stay tuned.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna Makarov, and I would like to share my poem, A Dream. How interesting. Just last night I saw a dream. The waves were crashing. Our ship was twisted inside the gale, as from Ayvazovsky painting, but on a bigger scale. Where did that unexpected storm came from, you ask me? Honestly, not from the depths of a calm mind. Translating dreams, one might think this is inner apprehension, with a twist of tension, devouring from within. Like a raging bull out of nowhere that you didn't even suspect, a moment so rare, but in a dream you never die. You fight the tempest to fly so high and might even go with the flow for a second or so. The time in a dream is different, like in space. It's a different galaxy, but with a familiar face. I feel like the ocean unveiling my soul, layer by layer, wave by wave, and let me escape. You always end up saving yourself, and you cautiously go ashore, as if nothing had ever happened. It's time to explore. Thank you so much. And I would like to share the Ivan Ayvazovsky painting I was referring to in my poem.
Hello, everyone. My name is Enrique Peña Lopeza, and I'm going to present two pieces of mine. One of them is called Seven Train. Those who came older, when will they rest? Autumn just fell. Time goes so fast. I promised Abuela I'd see her again. My brother still sends her flowers on my behalf of my dad's. It all went so fast. This old piece of land that's so new to my blood. The days seem so gray. Now my parents are older. They can barely work, but they stand and keep my hopes on their shoulders. I kiss my mom every morning before heading to work. We have gone through so much. She has survived way too much. I take the train with Dad, his weathered hands, sweat on his forehead, and the mask on his smile. He finds time to rest as he hasn't for long. Time goes too fast. I wonder how long will that last. And my second piece is called This Is My Home. Don't look at my struggle. Think of my calling. Don't look at the chains because I feel free. This is the land that I once dreamed. I long for this mess. I can stand what it brings. Whether it's my heart sometimes broken or my reality rarely spoken, nothing seems vain. I am still here. Don't think of the way that I came to these shores. I came a Peruvian. I'm not that anymore. I'm a dreamer. That's it. Un migrante, un latino. Humanista, indigenista y panandino. Not an illegal. I'm just a human. I do not proclaim myself a child of any land, but I belong to them all. I am here. I won't leave. This is my home as much as it's yours. Don't think of the scars. They've healed. They all do. Don't look at my feet. Too much I have walked, yet there's a long way ahead. I'm not giving up yet. I will work. As I make my way through New York, I won't be stopped. There's no one who could. Not COVID, no Trump, not the imaginary lines on the floor, or the many times a piece of paper shut a door. Not the feelings that sometimes are too heavy to bear, or being scared of my dad, caught by ice and not coming back. Not the dozens of friends that I lost through the years, not even the girl that I lost just a few months ago. 5 a.m., I wake up, go to work. I can't sleep, but I dream. I'm still here. You won't make me leave. This is my home as much as it's yours. Thank you.
M. Vasquez Vasquez. It's about making altars. I make altars. I honor the dead. I honor ancestors, los antepasados. I'm here to talk about that time they took me on a spin. Oh yeah, the muertos. I just didn't know it at the time. I know it now. It was a big effort, a big deal. I'd been invited to do an installation of an altar for the people in South Texas. Let me tell you, the last night of the event, the night the altar would come down, I remember trying to dance. I remember trying to enjoy. I wanted a free fall. I couldn't. There was a buzz. There was a static like the one on the television in Poltergeist. I just couldn't shake it. There was the cumbia, there was humo, there was copal. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't dance. It's as if they said to me, live it up. Live it up now, because this will not be next year. And I guess I had to spend a year in quarantine to understand what they were telling me. The muertos spoke. They spoke to me loud and clear. I remembered, this is hallowed ground. This is sacred ground. People here have lost their lives unwillingly, and they're trying to tell you. The muertos told me that COVID was coming and life would never be the same. Vivan los muertos.
My culture. What do you call mom and dad in your culture? My friend asked me this, and it took me a while to answer. I'm an Acholi by tribe from northern Uganda, by the way. I'd grown up calling my mom Mommy and my dad Daddy. Later, I thought about this question, and I realized that I actually didn't know what my people in my culture called mom and dad. I knew that they did not view their parents from the point of affection. It was more from a place of respect. I'd heard my cousins in the village say Ma or Mama and Ladit or Baba. Ladit translates as elder. In my culture, parents are viewed as elders and treated as such. I know that she asked because she wanted to get to me and my culture. What she did not know is that I did not know my culture. I knew what I had been taught growing up. I had grown up in exile in the UK, and when we came back to Uganda, we lived in a suburban neighborhood, and I went to an international school. I had been to my village only once growing up, and that was because my grandfather had died, so my father needed to pay his respects. So he took us along to see his home. We'd never met our grandfather, so we had no connection to him. Then after that, the war in northern Uganda started, and for the next 20 plus years, the roads were not passable, and we were cut off from our heritage. This may not be an excuse for not learning about my culture. I could have learned my language from our houseboys or housegirls, or even any relative that came over that knew the language. I could have even bought a dictionary in my language. When she asked me this question, it was the most basic of questions, something I'd never really thought about. I guess it was from the assumption that we called our parents Mommy or Mom or Mama or Daddy or Dada or Papa. She made me think. She made me do research on my culture. That one little question made me want to know more about my culture than she did. She made me feel something. She made me feel shame. I was ashamed that I did not know where I came from. I was ashamed that I did not speak my father's tongue. He is since gone, but I carry his name. I should know his culture. It is my culture. I should know my culture. The end.
I hope you're enjoying the Dreaming Out Loud Festival with PEN America and Nuyorican Poets Cafe broadcasted through Cowcast. And today I will interrupt you one more time with this time one of my poems called Undocumented Black Boy. But stay tuned, there will be more students reading their work right after this segment. So the poem that I'm going to perform next, I wrote it in college and I wrote it in the middle of a heartbreak. I wrote it at a time where, like, you know, you're kind of in that weird transition between, like, we just broke up, but we're still talking and you might be moving on, but like, we're still trying to see where this goes. But at the same time, I'm trying to heal and let you go at the same time. And I wrote it at the time trying to document the heartbreak that I felt, but also wanting to, like, shine a light on what it looks like, or what undocumented Black love looks like. And, you know, we often don't hear that, like, Black people can be undocumented, that Black people can be migrants in mainstream immigrant media. So I wanted to document this story even in the middle of hurt. And initially it was called A Letter to the Last Man I Loved, but throughout the years, folks kind of gave it the name Undocumented Black Boy. So here it goes. This is a petty love poem for the last man I loved. You see, I am the woman after the girl talking. And you are no longer the light at the end of the tunnel. You're the tunnel itself. Let every woman before me and after know that I loved you into a better version of yourself, so you and they are all welcome. I don't love you anymore, but Black boy, I still owe you an apology because you were never meant to become an X, a crossroad, an intersection, a mass incarceration, and mass deportation. You did not fly 3 continents to be called dangerous. To undocumented Black boy, I am sorry. I'm sorry that they used you for target practice, and that when the guns don't work, they use deportation as an alternative. That they loaded the rifle with xenophobia and racism and renamed the 2 birds, 1 stone. But if I can make a metamorphosis out of every argument we ever had and every toxic word we ever whispered, I swear I'll turn them into love letters and I'll deliver them straight to the heart of every bigot who hasn't been blinded by the beauty of your smile. Undocumented Black boy, when they call your smile a grimace, when they call it talking back and snapping back, when there are too many witnesses to take your life, so instead they ask you for your papers, remind them that there's a Dominican woman you done did everything to who still forgave you. An atheist, you made believer enough to pray every day for you to come home. You make the impossible possible, so how dare they mess with you, undocumented Black boy. 6 years have passed and we moved on. Since I opened up my wings and let you go, but I'm still waiting on your call, the one that comes at 3 p.m. When you finally swallow that pride and you whisper those 3 beautiful words that will crack me open like ice does. In New York City sidewalks, I slip and fall all over again. Call me up on a Sunday afternoon and finally tell me, Danyeli, I am safe. Don't you worry about my deportation or my death anymore. Undocumented Black boy, I still pray. Your best friend never calls me crying, sobbing because a cop confused your hands for shotguns, your wit for resistance, and then calls your existence illegal. I hope I get to see the day that another woman creates a child with your eyes, with your birthmark. I hope I get to see the day that you walk down the aisle dressed in nothing but survival. Prove to me that prayer do in fact work, because I get to see you grow wrinkled and old with the woman you love. You see, the only thing more painful than you moving on is you never having the ability to do so. So do so. Live, breathe, because it's an atheist Dominican woman you done did everything to till this day till this day, prays for your safety. Thank you for listening, y'all, and we will return. We will be back to the talent. The reason we're all here. So give a round of applause, I guess, or reactions to the next round of students who will be reading their work for the Dreaming Out Loud Festival. See you soon.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nikisha Kanzler, and I will be reading 3 original poetry selections that I've made. The first one is going to be called Guyanese Chow Mein. It's pronounced Chow Mein in Guyana. The second one is going to be called Nevuary, and the third one is named Spam. Guyanese Chow Mein, pronounced Chow Mein in Guyana. Hated it with a passion, as if it poisoned me in a past life, with its fried noodles, green and red peppers, and onions too. Bora, Chinese long beans. It fascinated me. How its ingredients go by many names, for some too difficult to pronounce. So many variations of this dish that I used to hate. But now it's sitting in my lap. I'm enjoying the taste of Guyanese chow mein. That younger me had a distaste for. Wow, this pandemic was truly pushing for a change. Nevuary. In never years, on never day, of never time, you will get there. In never trying and never taking risks, you will get there. In never feeling pain and in never remembering to learn from your failures, you will get there. Never feeling, never failing, never trying, you will not get there. Final poem, Spam. She said, listen, ask the big man above to slow down time. About 30 more hours in the day will be fine. My other friend asked me to keep him in my prayers, while Serena requested for me to pray that some random professor wouldn't keep on testing her fate on her final day. But I mean, they got better luck asking themselves, or at least someone else, because I feel like God got all my shit in spam. However, I just say, cool, I will, hang in there, take it easy, and I push that stuff out into the universe. I end my prayers with an ashe, demanding that my wishes unravel within 30 days. Thank you for listening, guys.
My name is Juan David. This is an excerpt from a multimedia project titled Stateless 2053. Kipu Messenger app running on the smart spec signals that facial recognition is underway. Verification successful. User is Lode. Name is Lorena Venegas. Locations disabled. Today's date, Friday, March 14th, 2053. My birthday was a month ago, and I know what you're going to say. Aren't you excited to be 18? Sure, I could finally get my AV license, but I'm a real New Yorker. My parents didn't own an autonomous vehicle because everywhere you need to get to in the city, it's easier, faster, and cheaper on the subway, by bus, or better yet, by bike. So you think, time for this girl to party, right? No, not at all. Apa and Ama were deported, and I haven't even heard from them. I don't even have a country anymore. I was supposed to start college this fall. My hard work, my future, and even my citizenship are all gone, just like that. I can't even talk to my friends about it, because I'm angry. I know I don't have a right to be angry at them, but I am. It's not their fault that they didn't lose anything, or anyone, so how are they supposed to know what I'm going through? I was just a physics nerd who read pirated ebooks and listened to century-old rock and underground podcast. Call me an anti-capitalist, but I won't get my news from the social media conglomerates. There's just too much misinfo. Maybe that's why no one seems to care about weather mods, climate migrants, birthright denaturalization, and missing deportees. One day, I went to the Tenement Museum to see an exhibit on things the Border Patrol confiscated from migrants crossing from Mexico. A janitor took meticulous photos of these things that were being thrown in the trash. After a decade, he had more than 600 photographs. I wonder what it'd be like in reverse. What would deportees take with them? I'm carrying a ukulele that my parents bought me for my 12th birthday. If I could have, I would have taken the Fender Strat that it's saved for over a year to buy. But the uke means a lot to me, and it's easy to carry. Apa would say, it's no charango, but you can still play Peruvian music on it because it's in your heart. I still wish that I had the Strat because Nirvana and Bowie just don't sound good on the uke. My heart's about old classic rock too. I also couldn't manage without these smart specs. How else would I be able to transcribe my story? It's not the latest, but I'm not about disposable smart contexts. Even if they don't need to be charged, the idea of having something on my eyeballs is not for me. Or drone vidcams that follow influencers? It's enough to know that my every step is probably being watched by Homeland Enforcement. Just as I transcribe every word, they're
It was my first ride in the back of Eddie's bike. It was the first time that I caught a glimpse of his hunger for adrenaline, thrill, and adventure. His bike was one of those low bikes that all of the teenage boys seemed to be riding at the time, or at least all of his friends were riding them. Our father took him to a used bike shop after Eddie expressed wanting a bike to go out with his friends. All week there had been talk at the dinner table about getting pieces for this bike. On this specific day, he added the foot pegs that his friend gave him. Diablitos, he called them. I don't know if Mexicans are the only ones who call them that, but I knew it as another term for troublemakers, which coincidentally had been Eddie's nickname as a child. Watching him fix up his bike and wipe it down with such care was strange. He acted careless with a lot of his things, but he was cleaning this like it was his armor, like this was a tool that would help him conquer the world. Our parents were at work, so while he fixed his bike on the sidewalk, I sat on our stoop eating ice cream and enjoying the sun. He said he really wanted to test out the pegs and told me to just stand on the back. I shrugged and did as was told while holding onto his broad shoulders tightly. And without a care in the world, without a destination in mind, we sat out on his bike. As soon as he took off, the breeze on my face felt refreshing. Make sure you hold on tight, he reminded me. We'd only ever hugged during holidays and birthdays, so I hesitated, but as he made a sharp turn on the avenue, I quickly wrapped my tiny arms around his torso and closed my eyes. At one point, I heard a woman scream and then shout, "Watch where you're going, idiot." He didn't respond or look back and continued to pedal fast, without seeming to care how close he would get to the cars on the road. My heart was beating fast, and for a minute I could feel his heart beating as fast as mine. I couldn't see his face, but I knew he was smiling and enjoying the adrenaline rush, so I didn't bring myself to tell him to slow down. I don't remember when we finally came to a stop and got off his bike. Seems like year after year, he was always looking for a thrill, an adventure, trouble. And I was always riding in the back. And for years, it felt like I never got off his bike. Now that I ride my own bike, I understand why he loved the speed, the adrenaline rush that comes along with it, and then the peace that follows right after. At times I get scared when I'm going too fast on the road, afraid that I'll crash or hurt myself or others along the way, and it makes me think, maybe I should have asked him to slow down that day.
Hi, my name is Apolinario Slash. I am a creative writing and Spanish grad student at NYU. To you book lovers, I dedicate a fragment of my second novel in progress, titled Orville, Nottingham, and the Booker. I hope you don't find it disturbing. Day after day, Orville received book after book. They piled in his bedroom. Only the mirror and his bed were bookless. In that overgrown and booky forest, a narrow forest trail led to his mirror, bed, and door. The path was half lit by little beams of sunlight filtering through the small patches of window on the book-filled walls. It was another boring day. Orville turned his head and eyes around the book-covered space. Without looking, he stretched a hand and took the closest one that had a raspy cover. It seemed interesting to his touch. Without much attention, he opened it to the middle. He looked at it without seeing it and began pulling out page after page. That was one way of using books, he thought. Finally, it was just a book, one more copy of another one. So what? Around the world, there might be thousands, if not millions, of copies that never reach a reading, thrown in dark antiquated corners of libraries, in thrift shops, or decorating home bookshelves like his. But he never wondered if that was the last of his kind. Some books were already piling outside his room in the hallway. Orville, put them away, said his grandma after tripping on them every day. Interlaced text flew on planes Orville made. He drew them in the narrow halls of his bedroom. The paper planes flew and flew, none of them landing. They escaped imminent crashes. Orville didn't notice that. He figured out a breeze charged with the static field that the piled books create maintained the planes floating in the air. So he finished making planes out of the book, throwing the hardcover straight to the flying pages. What the fuck? He screamed immediately, getting up as soon as the hardcover hit his mirror, breaking it into thousands of tiny pieces. The glittering dust lit the narrow fork trail. Orville kissed the booky walls and walked away, closing the door. So much for today's reading, he said. That's why I hate books. They mess up everything. Thank you.
All mutable for spacious skies, for ample waves of strain, for purple mountain travesties, above all muted pain. America, America, God shed his waste on thee, and crown thy good with falsehood from sea to shining sea.
Welcome back. I will be sharing another poem with you, but I hope that you're enjoying the festival. And now that you return in a few more minutes, but in the meantime, I'll perform a poem that I wrote this year, and it's about my mental health. Last year, 2020, was one of the most challenging years. We were stuck inside. A lot of us lost family members, loved ones, friends. Others, had to deal with the consequences of USCIS shutting down, right? So folks lost their work permits, their visas. We saw the death of George Floyd being broadcasted all over the world. We lost Breonna Taylor. We lost so many people last year. And I wrote this poem trying to cope with all of it, trying to cope with the anxiety that comes from being Black in the United States, with the anxiety that comes with being over-policed. And I wrote this poem at a very vulnerable time, and I wrote it trying to heal and trying to find some peace within the chaos. And it goes like this, and it's called Things I Tell Myself When I'm Having Anxiety. And I hope that for all of you watching, you are taking care of yourselves. You're taking the time to breathe, to slow down, to give your body and your mind all the things that it needs to be able to wake up another day, to be able to pull through. So I wrote this poem reminding myself of doing that for me. And it goes like this. Things I tell myself when I'm having anxiety. A few months from now, today will not be as bad as you think it is. The task will be finished. The deadline met. The poem released. Your mother will not be anemic. Your newborn sister won't be underweight. Your stepfather's hands will be sore from long days of work. Their rent will be paid, and so will yours. Breathe. When you feel like your lungs don't contract fast enough, breathe. Things will change soon enough. Breathe. Breathe when you remember Breonna Taylor. And imagine her putting on her night cream, making her way to the bed and kissing her fiance on the lips. Breathe when you remember George Floyd's daughter and how she would likely see her father's face in a textbook in the same chapter as Trayvon Martin and Sandra Bland. Breathe when you think about your own father, who does not call himself Black, but gave you his lips, his skin, his hair, and everything else that makes that one Uber driver talk shit about you in Spanish while you sit there and feel the rage crawl behind your neck. Breathe when you lose your green card in Cancun and the airline don't let you fly back in because you're not the blue passport kind of Black. You're the Caribbean kind of Black. The kind that mistake for a sex worker at a 5-star hotel because God forbids a woman like you find luxury and love in the same place. Breathe. And make lists before bed. Like 1, take your vitamins and probiotics first thing in the morning. 2, try to meditate at least 5 minutes before work. 3, send an email to the coworker who asked if your hair is real. 4, finish the immigration form for the client who tells you they hate morenos on the phone. 5, when anxiety convinces you cannot possibly breathe, remember it is all in your head. 6, remember you're not close to dying, but at least not now and at least not yet. 7, tell yourself it's not your turn, but remember to not put more than 7 things on the list because you'll re-enter the black hole of anxiety and never find a way out. Inhale and exhale. And remind yourself it's been a hard year, so there is no point in being hard on yourself. Remind yourself that yes, we are dying and there's no denying that. But every day we wake up and make TikTok videos and go hiking and raise puppies and children and plants and shit. We make surviving look so creative and so glorious. And when non-Black people post a Black square and move on, we still find different ways to be okay. We move back to our home countries where the soil is thick and people talk with their hands, and everywhere you look, it's wrapped in the comfort of blue sky. We take extra photos with our grandparents in case there is not enough time. We check on each other, not because we are scared, but because we know that fear and joy have never been mutually exclusive. And when my anxiety acts up, I request for my body not to blame me, to be patient, to carry me through one more day and one more night. My anxiety sits on my shoulder while I write, and instead of shrugging her off, I learn to ask what she wants to say. Most days she wants to be written free, to dissolve into bliss. I tell myself to go on walks, and if I can't find it in me to stand up from bed, I mentally tap the young woman in me who was at some point undocumented and always hustling and always excelling and always working out and always doing the absolute most, and I remind her that it is okay to slow down. That there is nothing to prove to anybody that will make them think her more human than she already is. And most days, even when I am exhausted, I only demand one thing of myself. Be soft. Be kind to yourself and others. This is the most effective way to feel free. Remember? Thank you, y'all, and I hope that you are breathing. I hope that you're taking care of yourselves. And we will continue on to more readers and more students for the Dreaming Out Loud Festival up next.
Hi, my name is Maria, and my poetry piece is called Youth. Youth. The car sweeps quickly through the Lincoln Tunnel. Your dress flutters from the night cold wind. You feel endless. You are 16 again, and Salinger is the best bedtime story. You are 17, and Charles Bukowski is your friend with a cigarette in your pocket. You are 18, and the two of us on the stairs are listening to Placebo through broken wired headphones. CD in a circle plays Follow the Cops Back Home. The starry sky turned on right on schedule. Torn black Converse in wet mud after the rain. A small river whose name you and I alone in the world know. And youth. Such a bright, endless youth. You recently asked when it ended and how you and I missed it. But somewhere in the evening coolness of the north, we are very young and in love. And all is ahead. Tom York holds his new track on MTV. We ran fast at home to the light of the nightlight and a stack of video cassettes. O youth, always be with us. Turn that Poet Society on midnight TV, and rain pounding on the windowsill. Tickled wool blanket, the cat under the sofa, the cat that in the morning clings our legs and asks for half an egg for breakfast. Thank you.
I'm Maddie. The title of my piece is You Thought That Your Man Hands Gave You the Right to Cut My Wings, but you were wrong. Dede had a dream of helping her family, a desire to help and heal the tiredness of her older sister, a desire to clean up the mess of those who were privileged. Before telling you about her journey, I'll introduce this young girl who became a lovely woman. She lived in Central America, specifically in a country that shares borders with Mexico, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. She comes from an indigenous family and she feels proud of her identity. She inherited her ancestors' long, shiny hair, her ancestors' dark brown eyes, and her ancestors' tongue, quiche. Her laugh is contagious and so loud that even her ancestors are able to hear it from the tombs. Her home was made of wood and red clay with roof covered by a flat metal panel, and she treasured it and kept it clean. She led her siblings to see their home as something special and beautiful. A home full of memories with her family, memories of pain, memories of happiness, memories of hope, and a place inhabited by industrious people. Her beautiful house was located between mountains, rivers, and green grasses. She has 4 siblings, a mom, a dad. Her father died from a disease in 2008. After he left, Dede's family never lost hope and never stopped being grateful for the little that they had.
Star pulled her backpack straps tighter around her shoulders. She missed a bus and had to walk to town. The bus passed every half an hour, and it was normally empty this early in the morning, especially on a weekend. 1 year ago, the vast open spaces reminded her of what she had left behind. The path in front of her was laden with salt and snow, and the cold air stung her face and seeped through the thin soles of her shoes. She walked quickly as cars drove by on the road. Star hitched rides on occasion when necessary. This morning, she was determined to walk. Star woke up early to prepare breakfast for herself. She had prepared her belongings the night before. Her clothes were faded with wear. Her socks had holes in them, and the hemline of her pants reached above her ankles. She packed a camera, a wide-angle lens, a tripod, an apple, and bus fare. On the weekend, she traveled solo to places miles from home to take pictures. Star was determined to visit every town nearby. She'd visit thrift stores, bookstores, and antique stores. Sometimes she would converse with passerby if they were friendly. Mostly, Star wanted to take photographs. Star did not plan where she wanted to go. She liked to challenge herself to leave home and travel to locations she stumbled upon by accident. She followed her inner compass and walked to the ends of roads, abandoned buildings, to elderly people sitting on benches, spaces closed off from the public, and forgotten items on the street. She saw herself in them how she saw her reflection. Their vastness filled the vastness within her. She found gloves, shoes, furniture, and books on her walks. When she felt brave, she would ask strangers if she could take their portrait. Some said no right away, others would look back confused, and some shrugged and said yes. The reaction was always the same, hesitation. Why me? To have one's photo taken was an act of intimacy. In this way, a camera was not much different from a shotgun. A camera caught its captive with a simple snap of a shutter. Star photographed Fernanda when she slept, during their outings, when she cooked, when they were out with friends, and inside their home. Perhaps no one had seen Fernanda like Star, and no one ever would. Star was at Fernanda's side from early waking hours to the last heavy snores that accompanied a deep, forgetful slumber. There were close-ups of Fernanda's gentle oval profile, her parched lips, and her frail hands in Star's photographs. Her eyes glimmering with the vigor and vanity of youth. Fernanda lived locked inside the frames like an insect in a block of amber. Star pinned to the photograph to the walls of her room, the smiling faces and memories of people from another life looking down at her from above her bed frame. Fernanda's laughter echoed in Star's memory. In the evenings, they sat beneath the faint glow of their television screen, the light tenderly illuminating the lines on Fernanda's face and the silver curls cascading down her forehead. They watched cartoons and the news to help Fernanda learn English. Star helped her sound out words, and she pronounced them slowly, her mouth stumbling on the R's and O's. Instead of feeling embarrassed, Fernanda laughed when Star corrected a word she had mispronounced. They left the television on in the background while Fernanda recounted her day at the grocery store, her joints aching with the weariness of standing most of the day bagging groceries. The tips of her fingers were rough and fluffy with calluses. She soaked her feet in salt at least once a week to lessen the soreness. She told Star stories about the fussy customers who argued over the cost of items and who demanded she carry their bags of groceries to the car.
Hi, today I'd like to hear my story called Suri's Dream by me, Ana Maria Vela. In 2002, there was a 5-year-old girl named Suri Samid who had developmental disabilities. Suri was from a small European island called Malta. She was very reclusive. She loved to draw manga, Japanese cartoons, and watch anime movies because she loved manga, anime stories, and drawings. Suri wanted to visit Japan. Her family had no desire to go there. It would take time to convince her mother into going. These conversations between Suri and her mother frequently took place in their kitchen. Suri had to move to the United States because she had a disability and her home country, Malta, had limited services for special needs. Once in Manhattan, Suri started attending pre-K and was placed in a small special needs classroom where she received the attention and services she needed to help her overcome communication challenges. Suri's passion for manga, gaming, Japanese culture, and anime movies continued to grow over the years. She enjoyed learning Japanese on Duolingo and from New York Public Library online classes during COVID-19. Suri's mom had promised to take her on her dream trip once she graduated. But the COVID pandemic brought travel to a halt. As vaccines have been made available, people were finally able to travel abroad once vaccinated. Suri and her mom got vaccinated and decided to take off on their trip to Japan. She visited the arcade to play games and won beautiful stuffed toys. Suri's mother was overjoyed to be part of her daughter's experience. Suri earned her a beautiful picture at the arcade that symbolized the love they shared as mother and daughter. Suri felt very glad to go to Japanese streets, arcades, movie theaters, and the shrines. She was very happy that her dream came true. The end. Thanks.
So we have reached the end. And we thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being here, for being present, for interacting with our students' work, for supporting. And if you haven't made your donation yet, please feel free to go ahead, right, and to consider donating. The Dreaming Out Loud Festival will not be possible in 2022 without donations. And, you know, you keep the work and the students' work alive. So please consider donating. And have a great night. Thank you so much for joining us.